Network.
Well, I've seen him on CNBC, CNN, you name it. He's Damon Vickers, Chief Investment Officer with 9 Points Management and Research. Their fund is up over 63% this year. You don't see that with a lot of funds out there, do you? He has a long, illustrious career, and he has a 25-year track record of articulating investment themes with striking clarity and then holding his ground as the daily barrage of market noise forces others to falter. And I watch mainstream financial shows. Very few of them are accurate because most of them have an establishment spin. But this guy has been very, very accurate in the past. And that's why we've got him on. And I was flattered to find out when we called him on the show that he is actually a listener sometimes. So, Mr. Vickers, it's great to have you on with us.
Oh, it's great to be with you. Not sometimes. I listen to your show, Alex, every night. And I do appreciate the praise of saying that we're up 63% this year. We're actually having a really good year this year, I believe, and we're long gold in oil. But we were actually up 63% last year in 2008. Maybe that's even better, but we had a really great year in 2008.
So, if I got that wrong, how are you doing this year then?
We're doing okay. I mean, we've had some ups and downs. We're doing really good today. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but oil is up close to $3 a barrel, which is a reflection of the dollar situation, which I know we'll be talking about. And gold. Gold is making new highs, and we're long gold. So we're really happy with what we're seeing this year, and I think we'll continue to do good for the balance of the year. And we like our positions very much.
I want to go through a whole host of issues with you today, sir, in the 50 minutes we have, and you're gracious to give us that much time in your busy schedule. But first, tell the listeners who may not know who you are a little bit about yourself. You have a long bio, what's most important. Then let's recap and expand what you talked about last week on CNBC about global government, world government, end of the dollar, gold only going up, and what you see happening in the near term, mid-term, and long term. Break it down for us.
Yeah, we'll have a chance to do all that. I mean, I've been running money for about 25 years. My father was a floor trader for Goldman Sachs on the New York Stock Exchange. My grandfather worked for Kidder Peabody and best friends with Bill Donaldson, who ran the SEC and is currently on, I believe, Barack Obama's think tank at this point. My great-grandmother, Catherine Angel, founded the Culinary Institute of America, also known as the CIA, ironically enough. And her husband was president of Yale University for a number of decades. And I saw a lot of people when I was a kid. I saw a lot of people come in and out of the house. The Rockefellers, who else? Kissinger, just everybody. My great-grandmother was a kind of a center of influence for a large part of, I would say, the New England moneyed establishment, and a great woman, and contributed a lot towards the country, and in helping to, I would say, build bridges between people.
Well, that's amazing. I'm flattered to have you as a listener.
Perspective, given your show, I know. But I would see Christmas cards and the like from the Rockefellers, and our families had houses next to each other in Seal Harbor, Maine, and up on Mount Desert Island. And the story goes that John Dee's son proposed to my great-grandmother, but she turned him down and married the famous psychiatrist who went on to become the president of Yale. Loved my great-grandmother a whole bunch. Great woman. Over the last 25 years, I've been very involved in growth investing predominantly, and we were early investors in Starbucks Coffee and Amazon.com. I've called 2 market tops in the last decade, notably the one in 2000 and the one in 2008. And in the bear markets of 2000 through 2003, our clients made money from those declines, and our clients made money from the declines of last year. We are essentially trend followers, meaning that we're looking to ride the prevailing wave, whatever that might be. If the market
okay, well, I want to get into sure. Fire out your websites for us.
We have a couple of websites. I guess DamonVickers.com would be stuff about me, and then our other site for our fund management would be www.npmnancypaulmary.us would concern the fun stuff.
Well, let me ask you this question, because I don't normally want to sit here and talk about myself here, but you're a big analyst. Why are you listening to this show? You're a busy guy. I mean, are you listening to try to see with the grassroots what the trends are, or is it just an interesting show? And why are you coming out on TV, and increasingly others are as well, and talking about reality, the world government, the global currency, the end of the dollar?
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the things, I mean, I did radio myself for about 5 years, and your approach guy, I think that's Peter Reeve. I know Peter Reeve, and I like your show. You've got a great feel to it, a great energy, great pacing. I can't say I agree with everything you say on the radio show, but you put on a really good radio show. People, I think, like yourself, Alex, they're looking down a tunnel. Some people may see, light approaching, coming down that tunnel. And yet there may be some people that say, no, that isn't light. That's actually a 100-ton locomotive heading your way. You need to do something. Now, the person that says that will usually be called crazy. Oh, you must be, you don't know what you're talking about. No one necessarily listens to you at the moment, and when you're making, calls like that. But the evidence cannot be ignored. There is kind of a momentum. There is a trend in terms of global developments, and there is a trend in terms of where things are moving towards. Some of those things, my father talked about. My father worked for the Institute of World Affairs for a brief time, and he would take people back and forth, like Henry Kissinger, like others. And they talked about, and this was well over 20 years ago, maybe 25 years ago, they would talk about dividing the world basically into 3 geographic trading zones. Listening to my father at the time, I probably thought he was nuts. But now we see the Asian trading zone. This was before the euro, and we see the United States moving closer towards that as well. So.
Well, that's the Trilateral Commission model stated by them, and then I would read their own documents on air, and people would say, that's never going to happen. And reading over their strategic plan, and now it's come out with Goldman Sachs betting against the housing market secretly while they were telling the public to invest in it. Clearly, this is command destruction. A lot of these groups at the apex of the pyramid, they're getting a lot of power, a lot of control out of these crises, which they understand in advance.
Right. Well, there are problems beyond that. I mean, you asked before. I agree with you. You asked before. Why have I gone on the air and said that? When I go on the air, I really don't try to prep everything that I'm going to say. I mean, I think the more you prep your comments, the more dead the interview becomes. And I've looked forward to our interview together, and I thought, well, how much prepping am I going to do? You can do a little prep, but the more I prep, the more candid it sounds. So when I made those comments, and you may want to replay them, but I basically said that I thought that the world was moving, in all likelihood, towards some type of a currency crisis. And I do believe that it feels like we're moving towards that. Into that currency crisis, you're going to have people that are going to be pretty panicked. There's going to be kind of a panic, not just a global, not just a United States panic, because if the dollar really comes under pressure, and I don't mean just going down in dribs and drabs, I mean you come in on a Monday morning and the dollar is down 10-15% overnight. It's not just going to be the dollar that's affected. It will likely be other currencies that are also affected simultaneously in a kind of a domino effect. And that could be kind of destabilizing on a global basis. It will cause kind of a panic. How would, what would the world or what would global powers do in response to that? Well, if you had a total lack of confidence in all that, the first thing that they would do is they would raise interest rates. So you'd see this ratcheting up immediately of interest rates to try to defend their currencies. That, in all likelihood, won't work. And then what you have is the dollar still goes down. It doesn't matter how high they raise their interest rates. People just don't want them. And they just don't want dollars. They also just don't want pounds. They just don't want all of those literally wampum, just piece of papers. Not even paper. Currencies are made out of linen, but there's just nothing behind them.
But if there's a currency based on taxing energy, like the cap and trade or carbon tax, is that going to be one of the new units? And then, of course, commodities themselves, oil, gold, pork bellies?